Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 13 of BrewFOs. Today, I'm here with Naomi. She's the head brewer at Helia Brewing in Vista, California, which is North County, San Diego. I am from San Diego. I love craft beer. I am so stoked to talk to Naomi today. Cheers, Naomi.
Cheers. Happy to be here. Welcome in, guys.
I'll try not to slurp, so I won't be like, okay. So, Naomi, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
This is really cool. So first of all, how did you get into brewing?
I was actually working at a coffee shop, serving bar, and I was trying to figure out what I really wanted to get into. I originally went for under childhood education. Very quickly learned that was not going to be my path for the next 40 years. And my manager knew I was starting to take some brewing classes, and her husband was the head brewer at the local brewery. So she suggested I just go in and talk to him a little bit, and he turned out to be this incredible, incredible mentor. Immediately hired me to assist from day one, worked under him for a few years, and then eventually took over all the brewing production out there. And then I was lucky enough where he knew Kelby out here at Helia. So when I was ready to move, I had a great recommendation, and I got really lucky landing here.
So you moved out here, and yeah, you already knew Kelby. That's like a big hookup right there.
Yeah, that's an amazing hookup in the craft beer industry down here.
So brewing beer, you're like an alchemist, basically. I've tasted your beer. This one is amazing. I just tasted this one for the first time today. It's awesome. This is the Hazy J that we're trying out right here, and the other one I had the other day was the Hot Hash that you did,
which is our newest beer. That's my favorite right now.
Do you have is there since I don't know too much about brewing, are some brews harder to brew than others?
I'd say yeah, especially anytime when you're trying to either dry it all the way out or you're trying to leave a little bit of sugar in there. It's a pretty fine line where you do have to check up on it every day, but that's going to be more on the fermentation side. I'd say on the actual brewing side, our hardest beer, just because we have to mess with a little more, would be the Hazy J, because we have to lower the temp in the whirlpool and cool it down a little bit to make sure we're not just extracting the bitter flavor from the hops. So it takes a little bit more kind of effort and consciousness doing it. On like our other beers, we can basically send them into the whirlpool, add the hops, have it spinning, and not really have to worry about it too much.
Okay.
So it's just more like the attention to detail on that. And then I'd say it comes down to whatever hops you use. Those ones are the New Zealand hops. So we try to get a little bit more of that sweet juiciness from them.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit more time.
Okay, cool. And so you started working here. Thanks for going into that. That's cool.
Yeah.
But this place is super rad. Like you can, I'll show a little bit. I'll film some spots. We'll get some B-roll, y'all. But right now you can kind of see the brewery. This brewery is beautiful, and I think you were telling me before that Kelby's kind of behind all that. Kelby's the owner.
Kelby's the owner. He also is a brewer. He wanted basically a community spot that everyone in the community, from artists to brewers to anybody that worked in the area, could come in, have a beer, feel super comfortable. We know most of our regulars' names. We know their beer orders. It's kind of what we pride ourselves on. Our repeat customers that are coming back, and our locals that are diehard finding our cans wherever they can, or in different tap rooms. So he just wanted a big communal space.
Yeah.
Where he could share his love for beer and like Helia's love for beer and just have that kind of outpour.
Yeah.
And we're really big into music. We love having live music here and different events. So we kind of tried to make a space conducive to that too. And just have enough room to host everyone and everyone have a good time and be comfortable. Like to say it almost feels like a beer living room.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like you're hanging out at like somebody's house.
Backyard,
It's like huge.
Exactly.
And yeah, in the backyard, literally the backyard here, it feels like you're in a backyard. It's got I'll show. It's got a cool little like a fireplace so you can chill. So like if you guys are in San Diego, you guys gotta come check out Helia. So I another thing I want to talk about, that Helia is it's named after a goddess.
Yeah, the sun goddess.
Sun goddess. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know more about that? Do you have to like?
So Kelby's partner Nicole is Greek.
Oh,
so when they were thinking of things, he's told me the story where they were going over names and names and names again, and they had an original name and it just wasn't what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they all walked in and saw it on a paper. And I believe they had their friends there too. And they just kind of looked at it and said, yep, that's it. Yeah. And so it kind of pays homage to her heritage, and she's a huge inspiration for the brewery. And then also Kelby's a very avid surfer. He grew up out here. He loves to be on the water. So it's definitely bringing that in. And we have obviously our giant water wall right when you walk into the building as well. And most of our staff here is female.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it kind of, plays into that as well.
Yeah. Speaking of that too, this is cool because it's the 13th episode and it kind of just happened, but like 13 is kind of known to be like the goddess number.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it kind of happened, but and then you're the head brewer, you're a woman. And so like there's a lot of stigma about beer that I've encountered, but also like the whole girly drink thing. That's so lame. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
I'd say, so I used to not really drink a lot of IPAs before I tried Kelby's IPAs, and they're absolutely phenomenal, but they're really well balanced. So anytime like a girl will come in and say, hey, I'm not really a beer drinker. I don't like beer. What do you like? And so I try to point them towards the Hazy J or sour, or we do make a house seltzer. So it's more just trying to figure out what flavors they're looking for. And it's usually a little bit more of that sweetness. So I can be like, you don't have to have your fruity, girl cocktail. You can still have something you really, really like. And just kind of get them to understand more what they're looking for. And then most of the time they really enjoy the beer.
Where do you think that is? That just the like male dominated society goes early drink, and then women are. And
I think there's this connotation that beer is really, really heavy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be if you do have a well-balanced beer, and especially if you're getting the flavors you want out of it. Of course, a stout or a porter is always going to be on the heavier side.
Yeah.
No matter what. But like the Mexican lagers, all of that, I think to me sometimes are way lighter than just a cocktail. There's less sugar. So it's just, I think, the general stigma, around it. But I think we're slowly converting a lot of ladies.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and obviously our seltzer is one of our most popular drinks that we make, but we still have a lot of female beer enjoyers, which we're super proud of.
Yeah, and especially the brewers, it's male dominated as well. So it's so cool to meet a woman brewer that's like makes amazing fucking beer.
Thank you. I'd say out here too, it's super welcoming. All of our neighbors that we share yeast with or that I ask for questions are all male, but they're super welcoming. I've never had an issue down here. They're just all happy to share and exchange knowledge. So I think we're super lucky in that fact.
Yeah.
Because I know that's not always the case places. And then again, Kelby is a fantastic owner and brewer. So he really empowers people, whether it's me or Ben or production assistant, anything, to kind of take charge and roll with it, which I think is a great, huge influence just to have.
But as an influence, I think you're influencing younger women and women, older, who cares, but like it's very inspiring,
Yeah, we've had a couple of like smaller children or like teenagers come in and they're like, wow, and that's always cool to see, because they're not used to seeing a girl back there. Or our tap room manager is also a woman, so we try to, it gets a pretty cool reaction every time, which is nice for us to see people welcoming that more in the industry as well.
Yeah, and what I noticed when I started first drinking beer is I toured England, and when we were playing pubs and stuff, they'd always just have like lukewarm beer instead of water.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was like, oh, that's all. I don't want to buy a water. And so like, but beer was free, so I drink it every night. And I was like, okay. And then I got back from England, and I was hanging out with my wife Laura, and I was like, I feel like a beer right now. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah. And then I just started trying to taste what I'd like. And I started looking at it as bread and like liquid bread.
Yeah.
And there's so many different flavors. Yeah. And that's how I got her into it as well. But like, it's just, it's such a other world. And I think like when people just talk about beer and they think like, I don't want to really throw out the corporate names, but they rhyme with like Spud, Weiser, and other stuff like that. But yeah, like beer is just so delicious, and the atmosphere at breweries, especially here in the States, it's like how the pubs kind of are. When I was in England, the family would be in there. It'd be like old guys, it'd be kids, and when I was here and I'd go into a pub, it would just be like guys getting drunk or like,
Yeah, it's
just
way different.
breweries are amazing for that. And I just love this culture, you know, so.
Yeah, we like to see, we get a lot of families in here and they'll be here all day with their kids, which is great. Obviously, we have our ping pong and our foosball table back there. The little kids are running around outside, and everyone brings their dogs in. We're a huge dog brewery.
Yeah.
So for us,
Cheers
it's
to
fun
that.
see. Cheers to
Cheers
that.
to dogs. Ripley and Kate.
Baby Killy Billy's at home because he tends to scream. But we like to see that more. Again, it's the whole kind of community environment that we try to make here and just make it welcoming to everybody. And we had someone come in last night that's like, I have kids and I have a dog. Can I come in? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah,
We have a food truck out there. Come in, bring the whole family. And it definitely brings more people back.
Yeah, it's such a cool. It's so cool because it's like it's literally just like you feel like it's a place you can just chill and you're not here to get drunk. You're here to taste and sip on something that just tastes so amazing and like it's yeah. I can go on about it, but the other thing, you were talking about events and you were telling me this earlier, and I wanted to say this on here, but like you have roller skating here. You have a reggae fest coming up.
Yeah,
right?
so
It's
March
like,
23rd is our reggae fest, and that's the biggest event we do all year. It supports the Shine Foundation, which helps special education, which is a fantastic cause. I think this year we have over 20 different bands playing between the two stages. It's from 3 to 10. It's an amazing day. We get a lot of really cool vendors outside. We basically close the whole Keystone Parkway down and just have live music going nonstop all day long. Roller disco is kind of our labor of love. Kelby and Nicole are great roller skaters.
Right.
And we work with Micah Kimball and Helena that started the idea and kind of the concept of disco days is what we call it. And so we clear out all that other side of the brewery. We put styrofoam over everything and people just get to skate around and everyone dresses up in 70s garb. It's amazing.
Rad.
It's super fun. And we have a 70s DJ and bump tunes all night. And it's amazing to see the skaters come out. I don't skate because of my capabilities. I usually fall, but it's really fun to watch everyone else kind of skate
I would
around.
fall on my ass and hurt myself for sure. But.
And they're really good professional skaters too, though.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like you can just roll
like
on
those
your
people,
skates.
they're like going backwards and
And we have people come in all the time, constantly ask us when we're doing our next one. So it's a really fun community event, I think, for the people around us, and everybody looks forward to it.
And it's talking about like a contrast too, is like you were telling me that you had metal bands, like death metal bands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Because I came from the metal scene from San Diego too, like bands and metal. But I was like, wait, you guys have metal bands play here? That's
we've done 2 now, and that's thanks to the band Elon Musk, and they had those shows for us, which is again fantastic name. That's our friends Anna and Randy, and they always have 3 to 4 different bands playing. It's one of the best, craziest nights. It gets really packed in here. They do a light laser show with smoke and everything.
Wow.
And last time they actually really did a cool cartoon that they made themselves that went to a couple of their songs. So you got to have really cool visuals the whole time. They always have really good food trucks that come out. And I'd say for our vendors, the metal music, as long as Reggae Fest. And then we did a Grateful Dead concert also this year, which was one of the funnest events we've done. Are some of their favorite ones to work as well.
And you said we were talking earlier, and you said Gem Fest. You guys have a Gem?
Yeah,
we've got some of the.
They're scattered throughout the whole brewery.
Yeah.
We do a gem show usually about once or twice a year, November and June. It's a whole weekend event. We have some amazing suppliers come out, people from all over. The Gem and Mineral Society of Vista actually puts it on with us.
Wow.
So the whole inside of the building is covered with different gems, everything from like beautiful diamonds to different qualities of anything you can imagine, from opals all the way to we have geo cutting outside for kids and adults. It's fun for us too. You get to pick your own rocks. We always do it as a staff.
Yeah.
And that's, I'd say, again, a huge community event out here, and we get to see some spectacular pieces that a lot of our staff love crystals or rocks and geology. And some of it we've never seen before. So we're always blown away every year by what people are finding. And it's definitely, they're all digging their own and searching for it. So it's really cool to see the different pieces we get every year. Yeah.
Well, before I ask you about UFOs, because I got to ask you about that, So, like, what beer are you stoked on brewing, or like what do you have upcoming or right now that you're stoked on?
I'd say my favorite is still that hop hash that we just put on with the mosaic hop hash in there. The flavor profile on that, especially as it's getting warmer, is just fantastic. We have a rice lager coming up that we're doing for Reggae Fest that we're really, really excited about. We
Love
usually
rice
only
lagers.
have, it's my first one, so we only usually have our Pescadito as our lager, and right now we have the Emerald Vortex, which is our West Coast lager that's about to be gone. So I think we're all excited for a nice, crisp, crushable summer beer to have on tap. And then it's always fun to do our seltzer. We try to use as much fresh fruit puree as possible, not as much synthetic flavor adding. So it's nice to have that on for summer. For disco days, we had a little glitter. So it's always fun.
Right now I'm sipping on the Hazy J, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, you were saying that's like the top selling beer.
That and our Pescadito are our two most distributed selling beers. I think if we ever took those off, there would be a riot against us. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so UFOs.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen a UFO?
I have seen a UFO.
You have?
I have seen a UFO.
Oh shit. Okay.
I'd like to believe that I have seen a UFO.
Yeah. Can you share about it? Or?
Yeah. So whenever we go to the beach or camping, of course, we're all looking at the stars. And we were in Monterey, and you always want to go out there and see one and be super excited about it. But we were tracking the lights and watching everything, and all of a sudden it was there, and you could tell it was just more of like a round shape, and it wasn't like an airplane moving around. We're just like, oh.
Was it above the water?
Closest. Yeah, it was like kind of levitating above the water on the Monterey Bay. And we just kept looking at it, and we were trying to take photos of it. And by the time we got our phones out and we kept looking at it, it was absolutely gone.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then we have roof access here at Helia, which is wonderful. And we like to go sit up there and watch the stars sometimes. And then with our taproom manager, Marissa, who is I'd say the best person at spotting UFOs or anything in the sky. She can see them from 20 miles away. It's crazy.
Cheers to Marissa, because she actually set this up. Cheers, Marissa.
Cheers in South Africa. And so we were up there a couple of times, and it was I'd say more like airplane-like looking, but it was definitely the lights. And then all of a sudden you just couldn't see the lights anymore when we were all looking at it. And I'd say those are my two most defined times that we've seen them.
Yeah.
And then in the back, sometimes when it gets really dark and foggy and raining, you'll be able to see just a little bit, and we are by the airport, but it's enough. So I feel like we're experts of knowing they're not airplanes at this point. And we've definitely seen a lot of things more levitating out there, especially when it gets really foggy out here with no lights on. And again, it's a very quick, you see it, and then it's just a huge object is absolutely gone.
And that we don't have anything that we know.
That's to my knowledge.
It's crazy because San Diego seems, or it is, such a hot spot for UFOs, and like Tom DeLonge's from here. Tom DeLonge's, to the Stars Academy and everything that's going on with the government and everything. Are you familiar with? Did you pay attention at all to the UAP hearings or the UFO?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's fine.
I did like a little bit on just kind of reading up as we went. I'd say my most kind of interesting experience just driving around between Northern and Southern California is when we went camping. We went by the Space Force base.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't think it would be busy. I've never seen a more busier, heavily guarded area in the whole world than the Space Force base. So that was really cool to kind of see.
Wow.
We definitely couldn't get too close because they start guarding it a couple miles off, and you're definitely not allowed to go forward. But I think for all of us, that kind of confirmed it up. And that was kind of during the time of the trials when we were on our camping trip coming back. So we're like, oh yeah, there's some cool stuff going on in there, kind of research going on. So
it's wild. It's like the fact that we even have like UAP legislation now for senators and stuff. It's just all, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just like, what is this?
We always say that it's too big of a universe for there not to be anything else out there. So all we know was like, we're the aliens, and people are like, oh, they're out there for us. So I'm like, it'd be way too lonely to think that we're the only things out there. So there has to be,
what have you heard the hypothesis of like an ultra terrestrial, where it's like from our oceans or from underground? Like, what if it wasn't from outside and it was like, when that stuff just like makes me go like, what is this
Again, the
here?
oceans are so deep.
Yeah, yeah.
Being able to explore, even a tenth of it.
Yeah.
So I always say like sharks and other animals and different squids out there are basically prehistoric aliens.
Yeah.
They look good anyways, and they have the bioluminescence and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff,
so
which is
cool.
just gorgeous. I feel like is kind of what people almost like gloss over as aliens. But if you look at it kind of from our perspective, it's, I like to say like local.
It's a whole nother world.
Yeah,
whole nother world.
exactly.
And a whole nother universe down there. And the weird thing is too, it's like it's 72% of our world is ocean.
Yeah.
So it's basically we live on an ocean world. And
we
we're just a little land
remotely
people.
explored any of it.
Yeah. And speaking of exploring, you also, another thing you brought up to me earlier was we hung out before this was your dad got you into Star Trek.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yes. So you have a love for Star Trek and Star Wars.
I do. Yeah, I definitely grew up watching it. Every single episode, it was basically like white noise to me now. From the originals, Battlestar Galactica to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
We've been through all of it. Obviously, all the new ones that came out were wonderful. All the original Star Treks or Star Wars. And then where I grew up is a tiny town. We have one movie theater with one room. So it was really fun because I used to watch the old Star Wars with my dad.
Right.
And when all the new ones came out one by one, they do a huge premiere showing.
Yeah.
At our, one room movie theater with this amazing Dolby IMAX, basically technology. So me and my dad would line up early, get our tickets, everyone dresses up, and we go see the Star Wars. And I think that's probably one of my favorite memories that we do. And it's just super fun. Again, It's a huge community event. Everyone comes out for it. It's cool to see now the age gap too with Star Trek and Star Wars, from the older generations to the new babies playing with the toys now.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of created a cool love for outer space, I think, more, and kind of revived that, which is really fun for a nerd to see and experience. Yeah.
Yeah. My grandma got me into Star Trek. My grandpa got me into Star Trek when I was young. The old ones we were talking about, the old with Kirk and Spock, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. Shout out to them too. But that actually gave me this inspiration to be like, humans, this isn't the end. The Earth isn't the end. Like, one day that'd be so cool if we're exploring and like just
There's more to
learning.
explore. And my dad and my grandparents came from Russia in the 70s and came here. So that's kind of one of the first shows they watched as a family.
Right.
I got into together, and my dad was in kindergarten, so he's learning English there. But my grandparents would watch Star Wars, and they're mechanical engineers. So they thought, this is so cool. And they kind of got acclimated to society that way. So it's definitely a super cool part of our family history from day one here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a cool place to end it. I mean, this has been really rad talking to you and drinking your beer. And I mean, everyone, I'm going to put links in this episode so you guys can come check out Helia. But thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah,
it's been amazing.
Yeah, cool. And we'll definitely come back in and support you more and drink your beer.
Yeah, we have a couple of different rotating beers coming up. I'd say every couple months, so you definitely have to taste the new variety.
No pressure, because I want to taste that rice lager, but I know you're first.
March 23rd. March 23rd. Okay. Yeah, I'll be ready for you. The day of Reggae Fest, no sooner.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll probably cut it right.
Awesome. That was so fun.